Joshua and Ryan join me here. They are the Minimalists. They're best-selling authors. They're movie makers. 2 documentaries. They're out touring the United States, and they just happened to be in the Nashville area last night. I said, guys, you got to come by. So we've had them on the program before, but they're back, and we're going to talk about their new book and so much more. So, Josh, Ryan, welcome to the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, thanks for having us. We didn't sound very minimalist with that introduction with all of our creations there, man.
Well, I got to tell you, you may be minimalist, but you're also intentionalists.
Absolutely.
Can I make that up? I don't even know if that's a word.
What a great name. Yeah, it's funny, like, people sometimes they get a little, they think it's too austere or radical, this idea of minimalism. I think it's the perfect word, right? Because it conjures up certain images of living with nothing. But that's not what we're about. We're not deprivationists.
Oh, no.
In fact, we're really about more, living with more freedom, more intention, more creativity, more love, and less of all of that excess stuff that gets in the way.
I'm glad you went there because, Ryan, we were talking about this morning. I was on the old Instagram this morning just seeing what you guys were up to, right? And I saw an excerpt that I loved, and it's beautiful transition coming out of what Josh just said.
Yeah.
And you took this idea of minimalism, and this is in your talk at the tour, and you're like, well, there may be a different word for it. In fact, you can fill in the blank. Take us down that path.
Yeah, so, essentially, a lot of people, they will avoid the word minimalism because they don't want that label, because the word itself sounds too extreme. So in the talk, I say, hey, if minimalism, if it sounds too radical to you, that's okay. You can just relabel your flavor of simplification. You can just pick your ism, intentionalism, enoughism, selectivism, curationism, practicalism, living within your means ism. It doesn't matter what you call it. Minimalism is a thing that gets us past the things so we can make room for life's most important things, which we know aren't things at all.
And that's really, would you say that statement right there?
Oh, yeah.
It's really smooth. So you've said it a lot, which means you've thought about it. You live it. Isn't that really what you guys are about?
100%, man.
It's, the book is called Love People Use Things because we tried the opposite for a long time, right? We tried to love things. Oh, I love my truck. I love my house. There's nothing wrong with things. But the problem is when we forsake the people closest to us in order to amass things we can't afford, we're going into debt, but not just financial debt, emotional debt. There's stress and anxiety and discontent and overwhelm. The average American household has 300,000 items in it. Wouldn't that be wonderful if it was making us happier and more content, if it increased our bliss and tranquility? But it's doing the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
All those things are actually getting in the way of the important things.
Yeah. I've known you guys a while. I've never asked you this. Do you think, based on what you guys believe and live, and of course you model it, you instruct it in the books and the documentaries, do you think you guys truly would fit really well 300 to 500 years ago? Do you think that would be your ultimate time period? And I'm I'm having fun, but I'm being serious.
Well,
do you know why I'm asking you that?
I know. Tell me why you're asking.
There weren't a bunch of things back then.
Sure. Right.
Yeah, 300 to 500 years ago, the luxuries.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, so I'm not a Luddite, right? And so the Luddites want to destroy all sort of technology, and there's a sort of new neo-Luddite movement where I'm not against technology. In fact, we use technology all the time. I think what I'm against in my own life is removing all of the friction, because convenience is really nice in the moment. But when we remove all the friction, we also lose traction. And so it's like driving on a skating rink. You're going to careen from anxiety to depression to overwhelm to stress because we have no traction in our lives anymore. We've made everything so convenient. And
that's what I'm getting at, though.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's just. I'm having some fun with this because I think where I'm going with this is that if you go 500 years ago, so you got your Colonial Era 300 years ago, and then you start going really far back.
Right.
I understand it was incredibly hard too.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm also saying, I'm just curious if you guys have ever thought about how we as humans have changed because of the amount of stuff. And really, you nailed it where I was going, which is convenience. Nothing was convenient 300 years ago. If you went into town, it was an all-day trip.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, they used to talk about 300 to 500 years ago, these things that people would take. It would take their time away, their attention away. They would waste time, and it was books. and they used to talk about how books were going to be the pandemic where it's going to take everyone's attention away. It's going to remove you from society. So really, that's my way of saying like this idea of minimalism. It's been around for so long. I mean, you can go back to you can go back to the Buddha, the Stoics, you can go back to Jesus, you can go back to Muhammad. I mean, the idea has always been there. The problems are different. So I do think that 300 to 500 years ago, there were some problems that minimalism certainly could have helped out with.
Good. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But I mean, I just truly wonder when you get to a mindset that you guys are in and you live this.
Right.
And again, you're not like anti-technology and you guys aren't sleeping on park benches to prove a point. I get that. But I just wonder if we could survive with less stuff way better than we think we could.
Without a doubt. In fact, we can thrive with less stuff. We're in our culture, we always talk about more.
Yeah.
Now it's more money, it's more status, it's more achievements, it's more trophies, it's more. Nothing wrong with any of those things, but when they become the point, when it's someone else's goal that has been thrust upon us and now it has become my goal, even though I'm doing this thing that's making me miserable, well, that's a big problem. And so it's never about more. The happiness is not found through the pursuit. It is simply uncovered by getting rid of the excess.
Yeah, absolutely true. Joshua Fields Milburn, Ryan Nicodemus, they are the Minimalists. That's kind of who they are. They join me here on the Ken Coleman Show. The new book, by the way, is Love People Use Things, because the opposite never works. Here's why I want you guys on the show. I think there are millions and millions and millions of people who work like crazy to acquire more stuff.
That's right.
And I'm the guy that's going, you shouldn't work for stuff. You work for love.
Yeah.
You work for the love of the work and the result of the work. That's purpose in work.
Yes.
So you guys know that's how I bleed.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
But I think that we've got a lot of people that if they were to grasp your message, they might be able to hear mine. Because I think there's so much focus on working for stuff and status. Speak to that. That's why I want you on the show. I see it.
Well, what's fascinating about this is we have so many people who, well, if they're like me, I had my first luxury car in my early 20s. It was a Lexus, and I had to work really hard so I could pay for that car that would take me to the job I didn't like, that allowed me to pay for the car that took me to the job. And then when that didn't make me happy, what did I do? I bought the second Lexus because the first one didn't make me happy. Maybe the second one will. Or maybe it's the Land Rover, and then that didn't work. Maybe it's the bigger house in the suburbs. Nothing wrong with owning a home, but then when we buy a too big house, what do? We feel compelled to fill it with stuff, and now we're doing the job that we don't enjoy. It doesn't bring us joy. It's not the best version of ourselves. Yes, it's causing stress in our lives, but it's also ruining our relationships. It's ruining our creativity. We've been told for so long that we're consumers, and that's partially true, but weren't we built, weren't we made, weren't we created to create?
We were created to create, and then one more C word, created to contribute.
Amen to that.
And so here's where we are in great alignment.
Yeah.
We've become consumers, and we forgot that we were supposed to be contributors.
Yes.
I
love that.
Now listen, that's it. That's why I have you on the program. Because I like when you work and you do work you love for the love of the work. And we were talking about this morning. You and I just kind of huddled in the corner. We love what we do, the work itself. Yeah. But we also care deeply about the result of our work. It's missional. Okay, because we're all three of us are in the transformation game.
Yeah.
That's the result that drives us.
Yeah.
All right. So when you experience that, you don't need all the other stuff. You're going, a nice car's a nice car. Yeah. But that doesn't give me the juice.
Right. There's nothing wrong with a nice car.
Nothing wrong with a nice car.
If I was to tell you to describe to me a picture of a rich man, you talk about the watch, you talk about the suit, you talk about maybe the car or even the yacht or the big house in the background. And none of those things are inherently wrong. The problem is when those are the point. When that's what we focus on, that is where we really start to put aside the rest of these relationships. And one of them is, our relationship with contribution. I mean, I like to think Josh and I, we're really trying to do the same thing that the whole Ramsey team is trying to do. I mean, I think about that every dollar budget. What's the number one line item on there? It's contribution. Yeah. What are you giving away each month? And what happens is when people focus on these riches with these material things, they don't feel like they have time to contribute. I'll contribute once I have X, Y, and Z. Then I used to tell myself this. Then I'll contribute. Yeah. And really, what Josh and I are trying to say is like, hey, those things you don't need. And when someone, when they feel like internally they don't have to have these chases in their lives, that's when they start to look externally. Now, I have met so many people who are impoverished people. I mean, to take it to a little bit of an extreme, who are incredibly giving, who are in this impoverished situation. And then I've met, very rich people who have the means to give and they don't give at all. Yeah. And it all has to do with this internal job. Yeah. And Josh and I are really trying to help people with that internal job, trying to help people heal so they can't start to look at outwardly.
I love it. The book is Love People, Use Things Because the Opposite Never Works. Real quick, when you look at the book, it really focuses on 7 relationships: stuff, truth, self, values, money, creativity, people. Mm-hmm. What are people going to get out of this book as you walk them through those relationships?
We wanted to write a traditional relationship book. Ryan and I realized we had screwed up a lot of our relationships throughout our 20s. And then, as we went through our 30s, we started healing many of the relationships in our lives. And we really wanted to sort of dissect that. It wasn't about fixing ourselves, fixing people. It's about healing. And sometimes to heal, you have to do the opposite. It's not about the doing. Ryan broke his back a few years ago, and he asked the doctor, like, what do I do to fix this? And the doctor's like, what do you mean, what do you do? You do nothing. Like, that's how you actually fix it. You do less. And so the book, it starts with our relationship with stuff. We repair and we heal that relationship with our things. We've purchased so many things that were buried in misery through consumerism, right? Consumerism is just buying things that we think are going to make us happy or more complete. Of course, you can't be more complete. You're already complete. The things you buy can augment or enhance your experience of life, but they will not make you a better you. And from there, it goes to the other relationships you talked about, getting really clear on what your values are. Most people, they don't know what their values are. They say they're one thing, but then their actions align with something else completely. Their actions are against their values. Yeah. Of course, money, you all talk about that, and our relationship with creativity. We quote from you, and we talk about the 3 E's in the creativity chapter there, which is really a chapter about our relationship with distractions and technology. We're so distracted. Scrolling has become the new smoking. Yeah. And so we identify how to be more creative so we can contribute beyond ourselves in a meaningful way. Yeah. And then eventually we wrap the book up with our relationship with people, how to let go of toxic relationships. And also throughout the book, we have these 16 rules for living with less, showing people the boundaries they can set up in their own life with some rules that helps them have a healthier relationship with their stuff.
Yeah.
What I love about what you guys do is you help us clarify and simplify. And it's just wonderful, wonderful stuff. I couldn't endorse it more because, again, I think that some people need to embrace your message before they'll ever hear somebody like mine. I mean that because there is, until you can get proper perspective, it is hard to see purpose. Yeah, it just is. Yeah. And what you're doing is amazing work. Love what you guys are about. The new book, again, is Love People, Use Things Because the Opposite Never Works. Get it wherever books are sold. Also, tell them how they can connect deeper with you, the documentaries, the website, and, of course, the tour that is continuing to happen.
Yeah. I mean, really, you can just go to theminimalists.com and everything is right there. Our documentaries, our podcast, our tour dates. So, yeah, it's all in one place. Real simple. Real
social
easy.
Media as well. They do great uplifting stuff there on social as well. These are good dudes. And this is a message that you need to embrace. I'm just going to tell you. You need to embrace it. On some level, all of us are guilty of the stuff that you guys address. And I don't say guilty in the sense of shame. No. I just mean guilty for the opportunity to realize, there's some breakthrough for me. There's something on the other side of this kind of culture sucking, kind of pull me in like a magnetic force into focusing on the things that, quite frankly, are really trivial when we look at them. And I think above all, that's what you guys do for us. You help us with perspective. So great stuff. Thanks, guys, for being with me.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome stuff.